channel. This is a sanctuary for those who have been fighting invisible battles that they cannot name, for the people who are struggling to understand what is happening in their lives. This is a channel for the people who are suffering behind the brave faces and the cheerful smiles and looking to find meaning. If you've been suffering inexplicable setbacks, family cycles that never break, financial cycles that never break, successes followed by failures, and just a deep, aching loneliness, even when you are surrounded by people, this is your channel. I am going to be guiding you through different things that you can do, untangling the spiritual web, which I call the spiritual matrix. This is an invisible web of generational bondage, generational trauma, false covenants invoked in your name, and soul agreements that were made before you even had a voice. In the spiritual realm, we are taught that your soul picks the family that it will be born into. Your soul picks the relationships that it's going to have, and your soul picks the life lessons that it's going to have while on earth. And it's through this journey that your soul finds its true destiny. The spiritual matrix is also a hidden system where the enemy uses to confuse you, to delay blessings, and to spiritually assassinate your destiny. What is your destiny? Your destiny is to become a true child of God. The truth is, as we're told in Isaiah 54:17, no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. In Ephesians 6:12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness and spiritual wickedness in high places. You're not imagining a battle. You have been targeted because you are chosen. I personally was in a spiritual warfare with my mother for over 4 decades. My mother worked relentlessly to erase my identity, to erase my destiny. She wanted to harvest me for her own benefit, to exploit me as she saw fit. I was never meant to get married and be happy, to have children and be happy. I was never meant to have my own identity, my own life that I have now stood over 4 decades, guarding it, speaking and removing curses from it every single time that she attacked me. 6 weeks before my son was born, his father was killed in a freak accident. Other people survived. He didn't survive. While my son was in my womb, I experienced so much spiritual warfare because we come from Kenya and my mother comes from a place in the world that believes in darkness and occult. But because the life that is being created in a mother's womb is so sacred and only the Creator knows the truth, nothing could prevent my son from entering this world. And I am forever grateful that God had mercy on me and protected me against so much hatred and sabotage and jealousy and spiritual competition. Once he was born, I tried creating a new identity here in the US. And my mother, even when I was going for college in Kenya, when I started this whole journey, she decided she would not support me. Financial support was immediately withdrawn. I mean, how could I ever have dreams dreams so much bigger than she had ever imagined in her entire life. When I came to the US, she withheld financial support again because the idea was that I would come to the US and I would fail and go back home. Now, 50 years old, been in the US for over 20 plus years, and I have lived a life that she tried to undo at every turn. My job as a child of God, I understood very early on, was to be obedient, never to retaliate, but to fight the spiritual battle, to hold the sword with the truth, and to pierce through the veil of deception and spiritual assassination and eradicate it. With this, I hope to offer anyone who comes on this channel an opportunity to learn something that can help them in their lives. These soul contracts and spiritual agreements that are made before birth in the spiritual realm sometimes involve karmic debts, assigned relationships, and assigned assignments that most people are never aware of. After doing so much work over the years, I truly believe my mother had a spiritual assignment to keep the curse in her bloodline alive and well. She became the gatekeeper, the person who does all the things that are so wrong, and yet she did them in the name of mother, in the name of going to church and being a prayer warrior. She did them as part of being the most helpful person in the community. She hid amongst people, and she was used as an instrument of darkness. I was not the only victim. There were multiple victims over the years. It's only after connecting the dots that we started to see what had been happening. It took me a lot of years to come to terms with the fact that she was never really my mother in the spiritual realm. And God was my father, and he was going to hold my hand throughout life, and still does. She was born in a spiritual bondage of generational jealousy, rejection, sabotage, female competition, mother-daughter competition, and witchcraft. She spoke death over my son. She said he would never amount to anything. And those curses were removed, or I removed them. I pierced back the veil. I broke the covenants that she made, and I survived. Proverbs 18:21, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. Proverbs 12:18, the words of the reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Joel 3:10, let the weak say, I am strong. My heavenly Father restored me, and he redeemed me. As for my mother, she spent her entire life fighting meaningless battles. She spent her entire life erasing destinies in silent competition to people who were innocent, and she paid the ultimate price. She eventually died of pancreatic cancer, stage 4, and we found out that she had never even been treated or gone to a doctor. Deuteronomy 18:10, let no one be found among you who sacrifices their son or daughter in the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. Galatians 5:19, the acts of the flesh are obvious: idolatry and witchcraft. Those who live like this will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. 1 Samuel 15:23, for rebellion is like the sin of divination, and arrogance like the evil of idolatry. She reacted her entire life, but she never chose the truth, and she never chose the light. She never chose to remove those curses from her bloodline. When she passed, it became clear. John 10:10, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. But I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. The enemy will keep you busy but not blessed. He will keep you active but not aligned. And in the end, he doesn't care whether you go to church, have a title, speak in tongues, as long as you never walk in your true destiny as a child of God. This is what spiritual matrix is here to really, really illuminate. Is people need to be aware that as long as you're on earth, there are two forces. There's darkness and there's light. And as a true child of God, you know that the darkness is always battling for your soul. And what other way to get a soul other than to poison it, to break its trust as at its innocence, so that it can forever live in fear. 1 Corinthians 14:33, God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. 1 Peter 5:8-9, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Resist him, steadfast in faith. My mother died with spiritual wealth undeclared and unclaimed because she never chose freedom. But I broke the curse, and I now walk in truth, in clarity, and in purpose. And I invite you along this journey to take a few words of wisdom or listen to the episodes and learn something and break your own generational curses. Speak blessings over your children and reclaim your life. In this realm, we should always remember that anybody who harms you has a spiritual assignment on their life. They may be here to teach you to walk more into the light, to stop being double-minded. They may be assigned to make sure that you understand you must have a strong faith. You must believe. And they may be assigned for you to learn the ultimate lesson: forgiveness, even in the face of betrayal. And the most controlling and most heartbreaking betrayal, which comes from parents. Exodus 25, I am the Lord your God. I'm a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation. Now what you have to say is that it ends with me. I choose peace over poison. I will not be a portal for confusion. I am a carrier of God's light. This is Spiritual Matrix, where spiritual warfare ends and divine purpose begins. Name your truth. Bring it to the light. Use the truth as a sword against the enemy. This is your destiny to reclaim your true purpose as a child of God. And yes, most of these things are perpetuated across generations because families choose to keep quiet. They choose to sweep everything under the rug. I have found families that have had suicide in their families for generations and never even looked at that to wonder, why do they get into these dark spells? Why do they get in these lulls and moments in life of complete and utter despair? Why do they catastrophize instead of finding solutions? Why do they just give up and choose to live a very chaotic life? So truly, what plagues you could be in your bloodline, and you need to go back and check into your generational lineage and find your truth. And then come back here and let's talk about it, and let's break these generational curses. Be blessed.